All right, welcome everybody to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Taylon.
I'm Shawenta.
And today we're going to be talking about the webcomic Tiger Tiger, written and drawn by Petra Erika Nordlund. You can find it on tigertigercomic.com. So, Shawenta, you chose the comic for this week. You want to tell us a little bit about what happens and why you picked it?
Well, I'm trying to think of why I picked it first of all. I'd always heard about the creator's first comic, which was Prog Race. And, it's different quality than this, obviously, because it was the first web comic, technically. But it got pretty popular. And it went on hiatus. I mean, I remember originally reading it, and it was, it's pretty good for webcomic standards. But I never got around to reading Tiger Tiger, even though I heard it came out. And, I kept seeing... I technically follow the artist on Twitter already. But, that happens so often, doesn't it? Where you're following the person, but you're, haven't read their work fully.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm sure there's something cool there. I'll find out later.
Yeah. For a little while, actually, I was starting to follow people on Twitter that, as we read their work on the show, but then I stopped doing that just because I forgot.
Oh, okay. I thought it was you had a moment of realization.
No, I just forgot.
All right.
So yeah, I was sort of looking for an excuse to read this comic.
What
So I made some of us read it in full, all 500 pages that are currently out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can I ask for the elevator summary of what Prog Race was?
Oh, it was vague teenage friendship runs into supernatural trouble in a weird shop.
Oh,
Is all I can remember, really.
Okay.
It kind of went on a hiatus very suddenly, so the story got chopped off very quickly.
Mm.
And I mean, it's never gonna come off hiatus. Pretty much, the authors devoted themselves to Tiger Tiger.
Right. Self-cancellation.
I think we were just talking about this before the show started. The comic started in 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or was the first officially released in 2018 online, and has 500 pages now. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I think there's book 1, and then book 2 has been started, and we're several chapters into book 2 in the publication. Yeah, Tiger Tiger was also nominated for an Eisner in the Best Webcomic category in 2019. I think, is it the AVN Club or whatever it is? Nominated them for one of the best webcomics of 2021, along those lines.
Okay.
Avian sounds familiar.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of...
Oh, the AV Club.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
I was AV Club? I was I don't know.
But yeah, it's been getting some recognition.
All right. It's been making some progress. Give myself a pat on the back for that one. That was good.
We need a snare drum sound on the board. Just...
So the comic, very simply, is about... Well, it's set in its own world. It's almost... I don't want to say it's Victorian era adjacent. But it does feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's fair. They talk about sailing the Great Sea to the New World, so I for a little while before they introduced more elements of the world, I really did think that it was just they were in the UK and sailing to the Americas. I was of course with slight differences, I was okay, just some historical fiction basically. So yeah, I would say
pretty much seems to be its own world.
Yeah, somewhere around, or yeah, it is its own world, but thinking of like kind of the late 1700s to anywhere in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, our main character is a noble lady who decides to steal her twin brother's ship, pretend to be him, and in search of sea sponges, her scientific interest, sea sponges, which she wants to write a book about the life cycle of.
Yes.
And meanwhile, supernatural things are happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, subtly.
Romantic entanglements, I guess.
Yeah, secret brothers.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because we can go over some of the plot points a little bit more, but it's super interesting to me the name of the comic. Did you guys notice when it was mentioned what that was? Or like within the story?
No.
Mm-mm.
It's probably later than you got to, Cody.
Okay.
Because you read book 1.
Yeah, I only read book 1.
But
I had assumed that it was a allusion to that one poem that has popped up in multiple comics somehow. Fearful Symmetry.
I'm not aware.
do not know what you're talking about.
I'll later. But I would like to know what it is actually in reference to.
All right.
Well,
yeah.
you don't think it... So you don't think it's in reference to that poem?
Well, I mean, it could be. I don't know, but you obviously had an answer, so.
Well, they literally have a section where, so it's in all the flashbacks to the brother. They have the one. It's like as the scene is ending, they're like, what is it? The fiance, Jameis, right?
Mm-hmm.
He mentions, "Oh, do you want to play a card game? It's called Tiger Tiger." And I mean, the point of the game, obviously is to win. But in the meantime, the obstacle being that there's 2 tigers hunting you and you don't realize it, I think.
Oh, okay.
So along the lines that you have 2 people who are going to betray you in your midst.
Mm-hmm. And I remember the beginning of chapter 3. It was either 3 or 4. The chapter page basically had the card that was the 2 tigers. I know that I didn't get to the part where they actually play the game, but I do remember a card with 2 tigers. I probably should have realized that was in reference to the name of the thing, but I was just like, cool art.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really funny to like finally mention the name of the comic 300 pages in.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I was just going to say in terms of the poem, the name of the poem is actually The Tiger. And it's Tiger, Tiger, burning bright. In the forest of the night, what a mortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry. And like fearful symmetry has been used like a lot in, well, I guess like honestly, there's a whole Wikipedia page, film and television, music and print. But we've read comics where it uses the poem, and most notably Watchmen, which we haven't read for the show. Has a whole issue that's called Fearful Symmetry. So yeah, I just thought it was a reference to that because it's like a major thing that people
can't stop referencing.
Yeah, I'm like, honestly, I've always wondered like why, like I mean, it is like kind of an interesting poem, but out of all of the poems, anyway. So yeah. But going back more into the summary of the book. Yeah, so we have... Actually, how do you pronounce her name? I was kind of like struggling with it when I was thinking about it, I just like kind of like read it like fast, and then I was like, wait a second.
Ludovica?
Ludovica?
Ludovica.
Oh, you're talking about the main character.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ludovica Bonaire, yeah.
Okay. Ludovica Bonaire.
Yeah, I try to make it roll off the tongue a little bit more.
Yeah.
Feels like it has to, right?
Right.
So I'd say
Ludovica?
like I had in my head translating it to your mouth is
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ludovica. There we go, Ludovica.
No.
I feel like that rolls off your tongue more than the other word that you were saying.
Ludovica. Maybe it does. I don't know. Kind of like tempted to just call her Ludo, but I'm like,
Well, doesn't someone call her that?
yeah, I think
Or
once.
Lud? Something like that.
Lady Ludo, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just call it Miss Lady.
No.
Captain.
LL. Oh yeah, Captain.
Where's the second L come from?
Well, Lady, Lud,
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I was like, wouldn't it be LB? But yeah, it'd be LLB. Anyway, so
Okay.
she,
Yeah.
yeah, in kind of a, like, it's kind of amazing that scheme in the beginning works at all. Like, it almost doesn't, but
It's amazing how all of the things work. Which is very interesting.
yeah, she basically plans with an artist that she hired and the house
Maid.
staff, yeah, to stage a burglary
Kidnap her?
and kidnap her, yeah, in order to steal the family ship and take her brother's identity, which we said, on the ship so that she can study sponges in the new world. And yeah, basically, her fiance accompanies
Who she's
her.
met like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's first mate on that ship alongside her twin brother.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of, to get him to not stop her, she's like, well, why don't you come along? You're first mate on the ship anyway.
Yep. And also she's like not really into it. She's like whatever, into the marriage.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, they've met like 3 times, and she's like, I care about sea sponges. It's my life.
Yeah. So yeah, then they go off and they stop in like basically like kind of the last port before like the long part of the voyage. She watches a play that explains like kind of the gods that are in this world, like, their
Well,
mythology.
it's specific to her religion.
Right.
So there's other people are mentioned to have like way different religions.
Oh, okay. I didn't quite catch that, but
I
yeah.
guess it comes up much later.
Oh,
kinda.
okay.
I'm trying to think because like they're different but the same in that I think they're both like duality, like or two. What would you call that? Like they have 2 gods basically.
I mean, diotheistic, maybe?
Yeah. Some.
She's like, so she's from Lucentia, and so she's like, yeah, I believe in the twins, the land and the sea, and also, I mean, a major part of it being that from the jealousy of the sea came, what is it, Malador?
Maldoror.
Maldoror. Maldoror. I don't know how I'm gonna say that. It means bad thing, probably.
Yeah. Mal.
Yeah.
Always Mal.
Bad dog.
Maldoror. And of course, what is it? I mean, I'm kind of skimming over some stuff, but she does, she ends up adopting a little puppy that comes stowaway, and it is not a puppy at all.
No. Some sort of
little
strange
creature.
sea creature, and she's not concerned that it's not in the sea. I mean, I'm sure that they know what amphibians are, but also, like, it is kind of weird that she's not like, like basically it goes from like assuming that it came from the sea, which like of course they're on the sea, but then being all like, you don't need to be in the sea. Like that's not that's not how amphibians work either. Like they can be on land and survive, but they do need to be in water.
Well, it wasn't like heaving,
Yeah, but like I'm just I don't know, more questions.
Gotcha. Well,
busy eating the cats on their ship and the rats.
Yeah.
Cats, rats, chickens.
They're like, it's funny because they introduce that like kind of like nonchalantly. It's like, man, we haven't been seeing many rats here. Like, what's going on there? And then like it's like a few pages later.
Was it? Yeah, like every single time the captain comes out of the ship, they're telling her, they're like, yeah, we don't have to worry about the rats anymore, I guess. She's like, I guess the ship cats are doing great. And then by the next time, it keeps escalating to the point where they're like, something ate the cats.
Yeah.
And she's like, I guess it's a giant rat. Great pea soup. Bye.
Oh, that's rough. I did, yeah. Okay. Also, just
one. A little too not seriously.
I also wanted to interject. Apparently, Maldoror is a figure of evil who has renounced conventional morality from a book, I guess, called it's in French, so it's like Les Chants de Maldoror.
So maybe a reference to that?
I think so.
Okay.
But yeah, in this, it's like, in this religion, it's pretty much a being created from hatred and rage of the sea god is the simplest way of saying it. To punish everybody on Earth, right?
Yeah.
Well, their Earth.
Yeah.
It is very comedic at the beginning where they're like, hope we don't have to paint over this map. Well, surely we'll hit the seawall soon.
It's like, this is the best map ever made. Currently. Best not figure out any more of the Earth.
Yeah, I hope nobody discovers new continents. They literally say.
Yeah. Also, I was a little bit curious about that very beginning part where it's like, is this a framing device kind of thing where like we are supposed to imagine that this whole story is being retold at that party at the beginning? Or is it just setting up the mystery?
I don't think so. I don't think, because obviously he doesn't know that much.
Yeah.
He just knows that she, what is it? Towards the end of the current chapter, they're literally like, she ran off with her fiance. They eloped. Like,
Gotcha.
Yeah, framing it in a very typical way.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, later on, the people who put on the play that she saw, they're trying to come up with ways to snazz up their play. And then they find out, that guy that you saw earlier, that was a lady. That was a noble lady. And they're like, oh my God, that's a great story. Let's make a play. So there's a lot of plays within the storyscape.
Huh. Man, I don't remember that. I remember the play and them like, hey, that crazy dude, like he could be a part of our troupe.
Yeah, I got to that point too, but
yeah, and then they have a second scene much later where they're like, man, no, people like it, but it's kind of there's only so long we can keep doing this. We got to come with something new. Guess it wouldn't last forever, and then they come up with new inspiration.
Okay, I remember that part.
Yeah. And so basically though, after they leave the port, things are pretty much going good at first on the sea. She's really bored.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm actually mixing things up. Is there a storm first, or does she just find the diary? Because I know that there's a storm in the diary. Well, I mean, like in the story of the diary.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the storm in the diary happens first, and then she has a storm afterwards.
Okay, yeah. Which I'm not sure if I actually read that, but...
Yeah, so she ends up finding her brother's diary and finding out that her brother's actually in love with her fiance.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the story, within the diary unfolds that, I mean, that's kind of the reason why he set her up with that guy, is because he didn't want to lose him. Because Jameis was like, oh man, this one noble girl was kind of interested in me. Do you think she'll take a sailor? And he's like, why don't you date my sister instead? Just like, eh. And also, through many dreamscapes, we also figure out that Jameis is conflicted between the two.
By many, I mean, I thought it was just that one.
Okay, so he has one towards the beginning of the story, actually,
really?
Which hinted at it totally.
I forgot. Okay.
Well, when that one first showed up, I was like, don't tell me. I got the hint.
No, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I didn't know how Jameis felt, really, until, like, that dream. But I pretty much, like, understood, like, within, like, the first couple of chapters, the brother and the sister. I was like, oh, I see how it is.
That's the thing. I don't, like, I get the feeling that Jameis likes Ludovica, but I never got the feeling that she totally likes him back.
No, she doesn't at all.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean,
but in his dream, he has, like, what is it? I can't remember. The twins are, like, fighting over some. Oh, I think they're kind of fighting over him to some extent. And he's like, "Don't worry, there's plenty of me for everyone." And they're like, "Ew."
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha.
We're siblings.
Yeah, and he's like, "That's not what I meant."
So he has a dream like that, except it gets a lot more racy.
Is that was in the beginning?
The one I just talked about was in the beginning, and then the second one happens towards the end currently.
Okay.
Where people start losing their clothes in those dreams. Yeah.
Yep, I only remember the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot. 500 pages is a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like 285 was a good amount.
Yeah. I don't know how much there's to summarize other than we do concurrent, at the same time as the main story with Ludovica as she's sailing off to this place because she wants to study these sea sponges. We see a pirate being hanged, and their name is Luck.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Yes. And I mean, they get hanged, dead body gets dropped in the ocean, as you do, I guess. I remember sometimes they would just, like, leave them up hanging.
I feel like that's more to make an example, but it sounded his crimes were more mischievous, and annoying. It's kind of just like,
you remember Pirates of the Caribbean 2?
No,
the floating coffin.
No,
what,
I don't.
You don't remember
watched
that?
any of those.
I've actually never seen any of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Oh no.
Same.
Oh no.
I've seen enough to know that I don't think I want to see them.
Oh no.
I'll say I think I'd like the first one, but maybe not the rest.
Oh no.
Taylon's having the worst moment of his life.
Yeah.
No, 1 through 3 are good. 4 is still good, but less good. 5 is like, no.
There's more?
Yeah, there's 5.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of those movies.
Oh God.
I remember when they were still coming out, and I saw the poster in theaters, and I was like, "There's more."
There's only 5. There
They
may
can't
be another
keep
one.
doing this.
And then Johnny Depp.
Okay, so
Anyway,
the person, the pirate who gets hanged, Luck.
yes.
Their bodies dumped in the ocean, and they claw their way back to the surface, fully alive. Scare that one guy I think he's the guy who drops the body. Yeah, he says he disposes of like executed bodies.
Oh, I get it now. I was very confused by that.
Oh,
Dude, going by.
Yeah, now it makes a lot more sense. Okay, yeah, that's.
I mean, obviously he freaks out, throws Luck off the boat. Somebody who just came from the water and like crawled into his boat and threatened him to take them to shore.
Mhm.
Okay,
And
that's the crazy guy.
yes.
Oh. Oh. Okay, I didn't even know that.
And, you know, Luck is obviously Maldoror's current iteration. Supposed to be Maldoror reincarnates often, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not explained so far. But there are different lives Maldoror has had. And current one as Luck, the pirate, who can also turn into the small creature Sausage that Ludovica is keeping as a lapdog.
Yeah. So the name, Ludovica names the creature Sausage, which, yeah. Okay. But yeah, just like, honestly, I look at that creature, I'm like, how do you not get uncomfortable looking at it?
Well,
If you look at like the things they like worship, are very odd looking to us.
I guess that's one way to look at it. I think that everybody else is pretty uncomfortable by it too. I think that it's within Ludovica's personality that she likes strange things, like
that makes sense.
like sea sponges.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
That's true.
It's so ugly. I love it.
I want you to know there are currently sausage plushies being made in production to be sold soon.
Oh,
I'm not sure how I feel about that, just knowing that it's like it can also be a person.
yeah.
It's just also
I'm like,
a dude. Yeah.
I don't know.
So there's a part in the comic that's like Maldoror's having a crisis, and he's like, I can't stand being treated like a dog. He's like, but they keep feeding me, so I guess
We'll
I gotta
trick them into thinking I'm a
Yes.
lapdog
Yeah.
and taking care of me.
and then I will destroy their ship.
Okay. By the end of this story, currently, Maldor has been having these dreams that with Ludovica that Ludovica does not remember, and they're basically the only time they get to talk as people, sort of. Although Maldor is still very off-putting, I guess.
Yeah.
Trying to be off-putting. They are pretty much like, yeah, you know, I am the incarnation of rage and hatred. I will destroy everybody, including you. But since you've been so nice to me, I'm not going to burn your ship at this moment. And I'm going to leave you this one memory, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And leaves without harming them so far. Also,
Go ahead.
nah, go ahead, Cody.
I was just gonna ask. It doesn't super matter, at least to where I'm at in the story. Does Maldoror
Doror.
does Maldoror present as a woman?
I think
they are referred to with they, them in the like synopsis. So that's why I've been using that.
Oh, okay.
But like there's not many people who refer to Maldor. So there's nothing from the in-person story that I know of.
Okay.
Maldoror has like the head of a man, but like the body of a female.
Okay.
I think that's just short hair, Talon.
No. Oh, you think that the face is also a woman?
I think it's just all female. And it's just short hair.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, actually.
To me, it sounded like the characters were addressing Maldoror as a man. Like, so
okay, I mean, the pronouns might be he, him. That I might have missed that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mean.
Also, it could totally be different for different characters. Like.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I didn't think that it was going to get this fine grained detailed, but fair enough that it should be, I guess. I was just curious. But okay. I will continue on.
It's fine.
There's
one adjacent plot I will say, and that's the one of the rot.
Oh yeah.
The ship that Ludovica's on has been owned by her family. I don't think they didn't create it. But one of the people on the ship is Rakatak. Is that his name?
Yep.
Yeah.
What an odd name. He's from another noble family, but he got kicked out because he just has too many fun parties.
Lechery parties.
He was not responsible human being.
Can't stop spending his money at brothels, and that's just not enough for him. Gotta take it to the extreme. But his family's known for shipbuilding and taking care of ships in general. And
the Anne family. Anne. He's right.
Yeah, the family Anne. His last name's literally Anne.
Yep.
But the Gallant, the ship that Ludovic is on, has been suffering from the rot, which is just like some sort of weird fungus growing inside the ship. And the only person who can take care of it is Rakatak, who also seems to be pressuring Ludovica's brother for money. And eventually it comes out that he wanted to have her brother give her hand in marriage so that he could basically marry his way back into a noble family, a noble title. And of course her brother never agreed to that, but she didn't know what they agreed to, so she's very unsure.
Yeah.
And throughout the course of the story so far, she's come to the conclusion that he planted and he cultivated the rot within the ship in order to have a reason to be kept there.
Yeah. Because if, the way he was portraying himself, he was the only one who was able to keep it at bay. And so, Remy, who is Ludovica's brother, is like, I want to get rid of you, but also I have no one else to take care of this, so I guess I have to put up with
this
you.
is really essential to the ship's well-being. So despite the fact that I hate your guts, I have to keep you on board.
Man. He planted it. I did not get to that part of the story.
So, also we didn't, we kind of brushed over. I don't know if we brushed over, but there's one guy on the ship whose name is Honeyfoot.
Oh yeah.
And turns out that, oh hey, I'm your brother. I'm Ludovica and Remy's brother.
From an affair, I'm your older brother when your father was 16 and young and dumb.
Yeah.
I was sent off to a monastery.
And then, was he at 16, ran away from the monastery? Is that right?
I don't know what age specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Well, at some point he ran away from the monastery, and so became a pirate, I guess. I don't remember
he's
what he
sailor.
does.
Well,
Sailor. Okay.
He's like, I did the Bon Air thing of running away
Yeah.
for an adventure.
So that brings me to a question, because certain chapters later in the book kind of go like we are like reading Honeyfoot's diary, I guess, or his entries.
I'm not sure about that.
Because it says something like
It says Honeyfoot. It says Brother Honeyfoot.
Yeah.
But
and then it gives a
that
year.
doesn't mean it's him, right?
Gotcha. I got the impression that it was like a journal entry that we were reading from.
Some of the events that happen in it seem a little bit like in the past political stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say for sure that's him. I
Gotcha.
began to come to the impression that he, being at that monastery, often you have the same kind of names. I'm not saying like every single one of the monks is named Honeyfoot, but
Okay.
Perhaps.
To me, I think there was a part where he's talking about the history of the war that happened between his country and some other country.
Yeah, the two countries.
Yeah. And what happened was that a woman from the warring country came to the man of the other country.
Yeah, two high-ranking individuals from both countries decide to marry. Exactly. And although it took time, eventually there was enough intermingling between the two countries of like babies and alliances that the war came to an end.
Mm-hmm. And then what they said came out of that was that I thought it was Honeyfoot's grandmother who was carved onto the bow of the ship. And so that was basically my question is that grandmother on his mother's side or his father's side?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would want to answer that because I would assume because it's the family ship that it would be his father's side, not his mother's. I think that's a safe assumption, if not obvious.
Yeah, it's unclear because I don't know what date this supposedly takes place at. Because all those Honeyfoot ones are 133.
That is also true.
133. It's not even like they're not even in the thousands of years. That's
I mean, why I think it's someone else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it says after the Reformation.
Mm-hmm. Which Reformation?
Right.
I mean, that's the thing.
Obviously not a Christian Reformation.
I was thinking of like the Industrial Revolution, but he was giving it a different name, Reformation. But I don't think that's right either.
Yeah, I mean, especially like given like monastery and all that stuff too. Mm. Interesting. I didn't even think about the fact that it's a monastery and like the way that religion has been described in the story so far. I just kind of was like, oh, okay, monastery.
Well, he's from a different religion than Ludovica and the rest.
Yeah,
I forget.
Yeah, even without being exposed to that other religion, I could easily see that because I'm just like, I don't know, it feels weird to think about Ludovica's religion having a monastery with monks. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's possible. It's just not like our world so much.
Yeah. To be fair, the ending of the comic has her go to like a sanctuary and be like, all right, gods, I'm not like, to me, it was like, I'm not sure if I believe in you, but then like it ends more of like, I pursue science and science shows me like who you are. Like it's a study of you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay.
Well, the place she goes to, so it's the place that they land on is this island that has a lot of untamed land, is how it seems to be portrayed as. And what Honeyfoot poses is he goes, I think this is the first island. You know, I've studied many religions and they all have these common similarities, you know, the first island, the first people, the creation, you know, all that. And he goes, I think this is the first island. I don't think this is uncharted. I think this is where we originated from. And she's like, cool, okay. Can't do much with that info. But when she goes to the temple for the gods, it's called, what is it? Is it called the Temple for 1,000 Gods? And she's like, that many? And they're like, well, there's like 148, but doesn't sound as cool. And she's like, is there any god here you won't make a little shrine for? Like, let people come and pray to? And they look at her kind of slyly and they're like, because she's probably, you know, they're like, she's probably interested in some of the darker gods then.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to me that that temple would be kind of like, we accept all religions. It's just like, yeah, put your god here. Like, we're not partial to anyone.
Saves a lot of money having to set up 148 separate churches. Give him a little cubby hole.
I guess. Yeah. It's interesting hearing how the rest of the story goes, not how I was imagining it necessarily.
Yes. Well, I think we should get into some of the stuff we liked.
Yeah.
I feel like we've already been touching on some of it. Love that world building.
Yeah, pretty cool world building. I feel like, I mean, this kind of is also world building in some way, but you know, characters are very particular. You know, they have like particular depths to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked, you know, I could see like the Remy and Ludovica as brother and sister. Although I could see that, you know, very much like arguing over nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then I like Jameis, his character. I find him very funny, very relatable, and too.
Yeah, he is funny and a little relatable. It was definitely weird seeing how he was when Remy first met him.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
Like, who are you?
Went through a change.
Yeah. A little like emo boy haircut.
I'm not listening to you. You're not my dad.
Yeah. That was really funny. Even after, like, you know, in the part of the diary where, like, you know, it's after the storm and, you know, they've kind of made amends, but Remy's like talking and he can, like, he's thinking to himself, like, why am I still talking? Like, this is getting worse and worse. And, like, you know, I wasn't sure that it was going to end well, but it did. But I did think that it was kind of funny that he was like, I kind of want to be like a father when Jameis has such a bad relationship with his father, you know? It's like, I was like, dang, that's like the wrong thing to say to him. Like,
well, I mean, it's kind of what leads him to thinking that he can deal with Rack Attack, right? he's like, well, I got Jameson to shape. I'll just do it again. Does not go well. Yeah, I was thinking more about the Ludovica and Remy being siblings and how originally when Ludovica is like, oh, I know how to act like my brother, and she acts real stern. And I was like, wow, I guess they really come off differently. But then once you read his diary, you realize how much he struggled to like maintain that kind of sternness.
Yeah.
And how he's very similar to her. And some of the like seeing him as a child, like interacting with his father's friends, and his father's like, those aren't my friends. You can't just like say anything to people. Like, we're all nobles here. We're all looking for a way to like backstab each other. Which Ludovica has not been exposed to as much.
Yeah. Interesting. And then that's also like part of it too is like Ludovica's like, I want to go with you, Remy, to the New World, and Remy's very much like, no, there's no place for you. No place for a woman.
Yeah, it'd be, what is the word he used? I think they use unladylike a couple of times, but there's something else too, like,
I'm not sure.
Unnatural, or I don't know.
And like they show part of Ludovica like applying for universities, and like she really wants to be able to submit her findings on sea sponges so it can be used by future generations. That's like her main thing. And if she's a woman, they will never use her literature, even if it gets accepted technically. It will never become part of textbooks or be taught or anything. So
yeah, she should just come to the 21st century. We got you.
Insert time travel plot.
But yeah, she's like, if you guys think I'm uncouth for continuously submitting 5 applications for like universities, I'm gonna show you uncouth. And so she runs off, pretends to be your brother.
Maybe that's the word you're looking for, uncouth.
Maybe, like, it definitely fits. I was just trying to quote specifically the word they used, but I don't know. It might have been.
It's used at some point, but yeah, there's several words they use.
But yeah, yeah, that was a fun little like character moment, basically, for her to explain, like, kind of why she's taken this extreme step. Because like at the beginning, it does
comes off as very frivolous at the
Yeah.
beginning. Childish.
exactly.
Oh, she does?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or just the idea of what she's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I want adventure. I want to study my sea sponges. She runs off. It seems the way it's portrayed at the beginning, it does come off as very childish fancy, which it is, but you kind of see the like deeper reasoning behind it when you see how many other venues she's tried.
Yeah. She's out of options in a way.
Gotcha. I don't know if I would necessarily interpret it as childish. Because
Like pulled off in a very childish way, right? Like, I'm kidnapping you. I'm stealing. And then she disappears.
Maybe.
I do want to talk a little bit more about how cool the world building is.
Go ahead. Go for it.
I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. I think it's really interesting. Even Ludovica refers to it. Oh yeah, I'm from Lucentia, so obviously I worship the twins. And of course, the parallel there of her being a twin. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure her and Remy are twins.
Yeah, they look so similar. It kind of like
They have to be.
Yeah,
I got the impression he was just older.
See, I I don't know. At one point when he's like super embarrassed that Jameis sees him like bare chested when he's all bandaged up from the like ship falling, I thought we were gonna find out that Remy is a trans guy. I was like, oh. But nah. But so I think they are just twins. But
Okay.
I don't know.
That is an interesting interpretation, though. Like, you know, just like to even have that thought at first. I was just like, yeah. I mean, when you said bare
He was
chest,
so bandaged up.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, I was like, at first, like, you know, bare chested. I was like, but then he was like, and in my briefs, you know, or whatever, my underwear, and I was like, okay, that is a little bit. That's a little bit, you know.
I mean, even the first time, or not the first time, but when Jameis walks in on like Ludovica dressed as her brother, he's like, "Oh my God, your legs!"
Yeah.
Even though she's just wearing like standard dude stuff.
Mm-hmm. That is actually kind of funny when you bring up that comparison where he's like totally unfazed with mostly undressed guy versus like the legs of a lady
Who's wearing clothes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but see, like that's Jameis though. That's what's just so funny because he goes to shake her hand, or no, he goes to high five her, and she like his hand is so
God,
large.
I've heard of this.
And he's
yeah,
like,
practice.
And then she like kind of gives him a high five. It's really hard because her hand is so much smaller, but and then
Also, she does like the softest high five ever.
Exactly.
She's never done it before.
And then he turns around, he's like, and she's like, "Did I do it right?" He was like, "You did it great."
So proud of you.
That's so funny. Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed the malevolent force that is Rack Attack. I mean, like, he's a legitimate, like, not nice guy. Like, most of the characters you meet can be taken care of pretty easily. But him, even when he's taken care of and, like, dropped from the ship, he's still going to be up to trouble.
Yeah.
You're not getting rid of this obstacle that easily.
Gotcha.
Also, just, it's so funny how often apparently he was trying to get her attention.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, wait, I remember a guy. Like, every single party or every single time she's on the ship, he's just like trying to pretend that they're star-crossed lovers.
And then
when he knows that it's Ludovica.
And it's either Remy or Jameis. And at the behest of Remy, is like, "Get this guy out of here."
Yeah, just, Ludovica, why don't you come look at this? She's like, okay. Which she comes off as very ditzy, of course. But it's just who she is.
It's like, it just makes me think of the Scooby-Doo montage where the ghost like comes out of the shadow and then like Scooby-Doo's like head is up and then he's like right before, or it might be Shaggy and Scooby-Doo, but like goes to grab and then they just run off before.
Escaped just in time.
Yep. I always got to mention Scooby-Doo because, you know.
I mean, it's seasonal, right?
Oh, that's fair. I wasn't even thinking about that. I'll go Scooby-Doo 365.
Anyway. Yeah, I didn't get as much of Rack Attack, you know, as you guys did, but I can still appreciate, you know, his character and how, I don't know, slimy he is.
So creepy. Yeah. I love when she's like out when Ludovica is at that one town before they leave to the other continent, I think. And when there's just that panel where she's like, "Wow, it's so nice out," you know, and talking about, she just looks so happy, and you see behind her just like him just like reaching his hand out to like ruin her day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Split second horror. It's so silent.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think I feel like it's also not as explored as probably as far as you guys got in the story, but I'm enjoying some of the romantic entanglements, you know, as they are. I think it's kind of interesting.
So which ones are you meaning?
I mean, I guess all of them, like, you know, the Remy is in love with the Jameis, and Jameis is at least probably attracted to both of them, Remy and Ludovica. And then, I mean, I'm just going to say, I think that Ludovica is probably attracted to women. She shares,
hinted at.
Yeah, it's pretty hinted at. You know, she gets really nervous in the 40 Elephants bar, and, you know, after she gets really drunk, she gets kissed by one of the barmaids.
I feel like I blocked that out from my memory, but
I saw it happen. I was like, of course she'd do this.
Yeah.
Figured it would be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But that I could see that because she's very much not into any of the guys that are around her.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is of course isn't necessary, but yeah, you would think that, like, you know, as, like, obviously, Jameis is, you know, he's a good guy, right? You know, and so, like, you would kind of imagine that how the story goes is that as they do get to know each other, she might develop feelings for him as well.
Yeah. And one of the things she does at the end is she's like, right before, because eventually they get Rack Attack to leave the ship.
Oh my god, I forgot about that part because also, what is it, Rack Attack taking off his shirt?
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, it's so hot here. I'm so glad we met each other.
Yeah. And so basically Rack Attack's trying to, like, I think he's trying to, like, put some dirt on Jameis or something like that. And because he's like, oh, you'd be wasted with that guy. And she's like, well, you know, I'm going to actually, I found love spiritually, and I'm going to become a nun. And so he's like, what? So to me, I'm like, I feel like that's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's like stereotypical, but like, of like, I'm choosing none of you. So I'm going to.
None of this.
Yeah. Need that snare drum.
Yes. Pat yourself on the back for that one.
I knew Kaylon would love that. God. Yeah, I mean, you know, after she's drunk, she's thinking back on the barmaid.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get to the part where she thinks back on it.
No, I mean, that literally is it.
Oh, okay.
The part you saw.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. That's been it. But I get the feeling that I don't think she's actually going to become a nun, is she?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I think that was just, she feels really bad about doing this to Remy. That she didn't realize that she's getting in the way, sort of.
Gotcha.
And also she has no interest in Rack Attack.
Yeah.
I forgot, this reminded me the fact that I like the fact that we get that one towards the end, that scene of Remy being told, your sister and her fiance have eloped together. And he's like, I am destined to a life of bitterness. And he's so dead inside. Oh, man. This isn't gonna go great, is it?
Yeah.
Especially if you think about with the fact that they've built up so much about Remy, he's gotta come back into the story, right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I mean, I was kind of surprised that I didn't, like, this is the first time I'm hearing more past what I read about him, and I thought that there would be even more.
Literally one scene of him staring off into the distance
Yeah.
Because
I mean, other than his diary entries, which are copious.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised too, because they had that, it was a comedy-filled moment, but they were Ludovica was talking about writing letters to Remy, and then Jameis is like, why would I write letters to a man? That seems weird.
We don't need to tell each other anything.
Yeah. Which very funny moment, but also I imagine that at least one of them was going to actually send a letter, so I'm like, when's that gonna happen?
It's literally been 6 weeks to get to the next continent. It was going to be 8 weeks until the storm blew them ahead schedule. So, man. Too busy dealing with sausage, though.
So, this just made me think of, the time frame for this comic. Is it a year or 6 months?
You mean, do I, a person who's read as much as you, know how far the comic's gonna go?
Well, no, of what we've read. Because I thought they said something like book 2 started off with all right, and they've spent 6 months out at sea.
No, it was 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yeah, it's 6 weeks between the two continents. They're not really dilly-dallying. They're, going straight there.
Yeah, okay.
So it's only been, a month or two.
Okay.
Yeah, month and a half. Because normally it was supposed to be 2 months, but I guess, I didn't read that far, but it sounded like you said that the storm that they encountered blew them forward, basically.
Also,
which Sausage takes credit for.
Yeah. I think that Maldoror is I manipulated the weather.
I gave you all this cool stuff, a storm.
Which is funny a little bit, because if you think about the story from the play, they talk about Maldoror being able to fly without wings to to mock the wind, but storms are, that is the wind. So I'm like, what kind of relationship does Maldoror have with the wind?
Is that the other sibling?
No, it's the land and the sea, but the wind is their parent, mother, father.
Gotcha.
Whatever.
Wind never bothers looking at the sea's creations, kind of thing.
Oh man, that just makes you think. It's like we have issues with each other, but we have issues with our father. He was
That's
terrible
always.
to you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't
As always.
Yeah, I guess the sea and the land kind of have issues, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it definitely does seem worse between the sea and the wind, because even the sea, in the story, is yeah, you should come down into the sea sometime, and the wind is no, that would create a mega storm that would be really, really bad. And basically we'd have to start all over.
Gotcha.
Yeah, which, I mean, Maldoror sounds like it starts everything over anyway, so or it can.
Few humans always escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yep. I remember where you pulled that from.
Okay. Is there anything else that you guys liked in particular? I feel like I'm honestly forgetting some things, but I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I'm forgetting some stuff, but it can all be lumped together with pretty much the world building and a lot of the little side stuff. Very interesting to me. Do you want to get into things you didn't like?
Yeah, I guess before that, what I will say is that I feel like, as, the story was worked on, progress was made. And so I also appreciated that, and that kind of...
So you mean as the story went, it got
better,
more polished?
Yeah, more polished and better. Yeah.
Yeah, because progress ended before.
You can't make that joke twice.
It's progress.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I know.
Anyway, so yeah, getting into things that we didn't like, and kind of spinning off of what I just said, I felt like the beginning was a little bit slow and hard to get into. I was like, I don't know how or why to care about these people. You know, it wasn't immediately like, okay, I'm in, you know, like the hook
Gotcha.
took its time.
Mm-hmm. But it got there.
Yeah, it did get there.
All right.
It's a very simple premise. Man, kind of doesn't feel like a lot has happened. It still feels like we're in the intro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even by 500 pages.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know if that's a good thing to have people feel about your webcomic. I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be like 2,000 pages in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can kind of see that, especially with like the release schedule, basically, and how it's like, you know, I mean, the pages are meant, obviously, to be read continuously. Like, action happens from, like, you know, bottom of the last panel on one page to top of the first panel on the next, you know? So it's not like, you know, maybe like newspaper comic style where it's more like self-contained on one, and then even with a continuing story, it's like, you know, putting the reader back at the beginning. You know, it is like you could publish this in a book, you know, a collected book, basically, without any interruption in between pages. But at the same time, it does also have that feeling, just like based on, you know, it being released page by page, where it's like, you know, basically like you can feel the space in between the pages, if that makes sense.
Like you still feel that because it's a webcomic, each page is made to be satisfying as an update.
Yeah. And because of that, the story is like stretched, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I definitely, I don't know how to explain it. The story, is it bloated? Is it, I mean, 500 pages is a lot to read in one sitting, but I think a story like this should be able to be enjoyed continuously. But there's a lot of repetition of phrases, of interactions. I don't know. I think actually one of the things I didn't like the most was characters interacting, which isn't a great thing to have. I mean, most of the time. Sometimes, you know, it's great, but I think the majority of the time when I was not having a great time was, I think just some of the characters come off as too high school written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just all yelling and doing things and just being their most crazy version of themselves they can. They're always just acting out, crying and laughing and just being... They always feel like they have to be entertaining. I get that impression.
Yeah.
And it is tiring.
That's actually a pretty good way to say it, because I wasn't really sure, you know, like I think I had the same feeling though. I was just like, I don't know how to describe, you know, what my problem is though. But yeah.
I had that specific, like, you know, these characters seem like high school age with Honeyfoot and Ludovica. Like when Honeyfoot, it's revealed, oh, Honeyfoot's their brother, like, they're like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? Like, and then talking about like, yeah, I ran away and like I have so full of hope and possibilities, and it's like like yes, and we'll find love and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that I ever really got the impression that they were like high school aged, but like
no,
it is like
It's just their actions. That's what
their actions, and in general, like, I mean, just the always, like, yeah, they're always on, right?
Yes, that is it. They're always on. They always have to be doing so, which, like, we've talked about in some ways that's a good thing. They're always themselves, technically. But I think also when I said high school age, I also meant, like, something I wrote in high school kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, these characters always have to be funny and saying something quippy and, like, being adorable or being, I mean, most of the characters just come off as, like, adorable kind of fodder.
No, yeah, and that is also something that I kind of noticed too, where it's like, you know, it feels like this comic was made to be popular, which, I mean, like, in some way, like, that's good.
So it was when I first started, when I was finally like, okay, I need to read this, I clicked on the link and it said young adult YA story, and I went, oh no.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's exactly what I was expecting.
Okay.
But yes, I get that feeling too, Cody. I'm sorry to have interrupted you.
No, it's
but that perfectly summarizes a lot of times the things I run into. I'm like, I can feel why this is popular, and it's not appealing to me because it was manufactured that way.
Yeah, it's like, you know, really, like, because I mean, it just has that very webcomic feel where people are always doing something, like, you know, awkward and then reacting in, like, kind of like,
well, that just happened.
Yeah.
So, like, that kind of, like, one of the things I didn't like about this comic was that they kind of had that attitude of, like, being high school, like, in that, the way that was written in that regard. But then they also had, like, very adult themes to me. And it's like, I didn't really like that mix. So to hear that it was, like, supposed to be young adult, it's like, or is it young adult, right? You said?
It's said to be YA. I will say, Taylon, I've totally read, like, YA novels that, like, have this kind of, it's always this way, and that's kind of the reason why I don't like it. It's always this, oh my god, I'm gay kind of, like, realization. I don't know. I guess I'm just not the age demographic for the awakening plot line.
Yeah, but I mean, even kind of like what I think you were more getting at, but also what Shwent was getting at too, is that, you know, I think that, a lot of YA novels are at this level. Because, I mean, you have to think, you know, if young adults are really going to read these, you know, then you have to not talk down to them and, like, you know, not respect the adult part of the genre. You know, we're not talking about, like, middle schoolers or even, like, young high schoolers. Like, you know, this is like 17, 18, early 20s.
See, when I think young adult, I don't actually think someone in their 20s. Like, not the, I mean the literary genre. When I think of the genre, I think it's not aimed for, I think it's aimed for high schoolers.
I mean,
so what part of the adult themes did you think would be inappropriate for that age range?
So specifically, I thought the sexual, like, topics of, you know, who's gay, who's not, like, and then specifically the use of language, like the F word, like all that. I was like, I don't.
Oh, some of the, when they did discussing, like, some of the swear words.
Yeah.
I guess I can see the swear words. I will say, like, the sexual topics of, like, I mean, obviously they get nude at some parts. Nothing ever happens, thank goodness. Life on the internet. But no, I've totally read, like, young adult novels when I was, like, 16 that had, like, the same level of, like, oh my god, I'm gay kind of realization stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I guess I didn't imagine that's really, that's not what I had pinpointed as expecting what your problem was going to be.
Gotcha.
I imagined, like, I don't have a problem with it, but what I imagine would be the problem would be more just I guess the characters wanting to be in sexual situations, basically, you know, and like particularly like Honeyfoot being like upstairs with like a bunch of women and stuff like that,
brothels, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I mean, especially at this point in, I don't know, human history, you know, we're pretty like, I mean, I feel like having you know, knowledge of like the differentiation between like straight and not straight, or, you know, other kinds of sexualities is pretty like common at this point, you know, especially if you're in high school. It's like you're just going to know either you yourself know, you know, what and who you are, or you know that other people are, you know, maybe different than you.
Gotcha. See, like
they typically have like a concept of it, even if they can't verbalize it particularly.
And I guess, to be fair, I didn't grow up that way. Like I grew up very much like this is
we don't talk about that.
Well, not that like we purposely don't talk about it, but it just didn't come up. And so, and then, you know, the novels I read were just like, oh, this girl crushing on this guy. It's like,
Right.
You know.
See, you did not read from.
See, like I
want to say the female section of the young adult novels.
I disagree. Because I read Divergent and Hush Hush, which are very, like, the main characters are, in both of those series, are female. And written by female authors. So, like, but then
there's some.
But then I also read Percy Jackson, so that's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was like, what is it? There's that one novel, Speak, which is about essay. I think we got assigned to read that when I was like 14 or something, man.
Oh, man, that's actually kind of that's
weird.
That's kind of rough, actually. Like 14 and look back.
I mean, like, the main character's 14.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
It's just like I was surprised, but. Yeah.
And you got assigned
reminder also that 14 is a freshman in high school sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I was 13 too. So wait, no, I wasn't.
Yeah, no, I was
14.
I was 14 in high school.
I was 13
freshman.
when I graduated. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I get my math. I started high school in 2013.
Was Talon a genius?
No. Okay, I was 14.
Yeah. I'm like, I almost guarantee you were not 13 in high school. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
There were some people who were.
Yeah.
In my class.
Fair enough.
Anyway.
I was the youngest in whatever class I was in. So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, though, yeah,
Some of those young adult novels get racy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Responsible child who skipped over all those parts.
Well, good on you. Unless wait.
No.
All right.
We won't go into that. I think the kind of what we're going towards is another thing I felt with the book. Well, the books. Is that it has trouble tonally. It's almost too jokey the majority of the time that the stakes don't feel real. And problems are just kind of solved without ever feeling too scary, which like might be why it's also along the lines of a young adult novel. Like, it can never get too scary.
Gotcha.
But also that means the threats kind of fall flat.
I would say the most like stakes we got was her trying to figure out what the rot was.
And she's just like, man, can't figure it out, and then has a dream with Maldor and is like, oh my god, it makes sense, it's from him, which I was like, yeah, duh. And then what does she do? She's like, get off my ship. That's kind of why I liked Rakatek, is he was actually like a threat. Like, it's so much of the thing at the beginning where it's like, oh my god, people can't find out who I really am. Just kind of not a problem most of the time then. Like, she just walks around.
Yeah.
And she just tells people. She eventually just tells Quinn, the ship doctor, Honeyfoot knows. Jameis already knows. Like, who else do we have to worry about? Rack Attack?
Yeah.
And now we don't have to?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big part of the cast, you know, that we get introduced to. There's like, you know, a bunch of crew hands, of course, but like, you know, we don't know their names, you know. So.
They don't even... I feel like the crew hands should get more of like, even if they're talking together, where they're like, hey, what's going on? Like, as a group. Like, there's no suspicions. There's no worry about it. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the stakes are underutilized.
Yeah.
Maldoror just leaves because it's cool now. Bitch you once. Everything will be fine. I mean, obviously it's going to come back as more of a threat.
Mm-hmm.
What do we have to deal with right now? It's been 500 pages.
Yeah.
Just sadness over brother being in love with this guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like I grew more interested. Well, I feel like I began to understand Remy more than I understood like any of the other characters. He got so much screen time, and so much of it is actual like stakes, where it's like the storm. Like, this is the direct consequence of like the not listening to me, butting heads, like actually butting heads for once in their lives, like characters actually fighting.
Yeah.
What does Ludovica have? What has she done that she's proven herself with so far? She just kind of chilling.
She is sly. She got around to escape.
And that's it.
The first 20 pages. Or something.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see what I mean, right? Like, I feel like there's so much of it's underutilized. Also, the synopsis about this webcomic promised me sword fights. There's been no fighting.
You're right.
So far.
Yeah, within the story, they keep talking about pirates, and I guess we got Luck being killed as a pirate. Was there any other pirates past the 258 mark or 85 mark?
I mean, Luck gets reunited with the rest of their pirates.
Okay, so yeah.
But they're also kind of goofy characters.
It ends with him saying like, yes, and you too must die.
He's like, like one of the people knows that Luck is Maldoror, and it's like, you know, I'm so sorry. I think they said they like doubted them or something, and they're like, yeah, don't worry, I'm back, and I'm here to destroy everyone and make them feel the rage and hatred that I feel, and you're not going to be spared. Cool.
Nice. Yeah, but
the majority of the time Maldoror has spent on screen has just been as a cute sausage creature.
Yeah, and they even like the way that he let Ludovica go was like, oh, sorry,
I'll let you live now.
Yeah, like I am a separate character from those guys. Like the first guys that you ran into were like evil. I am good, so I'll let you go.
I mean, I don't think Luck says they're good, but they're like, those guys are way worse.
Yeah,
you're lucky me.
Right.
And then he's like, yeah, in return for being like feeding me, I'm just gonna let you go. With a warning, verbal warning, that I will be back, I guess. Like, destroy a desk or something, man. I need to see more characters going through it.
Yeah.
Kill someone.
There's a chair on the ship, and he just, as he's leaving, he's like, oh.
I mean, I think Ludovica is so much like, oh my god, sausage, so cute, gonna take care of it. Like, this thing killed some cats, man. Be sad over the cats for like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Hey, she only cares about sea sponges. Okay.
And sausage.
And sausage, who is not even a dog or a cat. So.
The person that I'm keeping.
Unbeknownst to her.
Yeah. Man, Give me some heartache.
Yeah.
Other than romance, which, I mean, like, I was fine. I knew Remy was gonna end up being like in love with Jameis or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Does every single like ship log entry have to be like, "Darn that beautiful man. I hate him so." Oh no, he's taken off his shirt. I don't care who the character is. I don't care when that happens.
Honestly, though, I can relate to you being like, this guy's just...
I hate this guy. Oh no, I'm in love with him.
And then you look back and you're like, wow, I had talked about them for like the last week or so.
Obsessed with them.
It's like an every day. Oh my gosh.
Surely this means nothing else.
It's like, at that point you're like, okay, all right, no, I'm taking a stand right now. We're not going to talk about it anymore. And then a week goes by and you're like, okay, I got to talk about it.
You'll never believe what they did next. I was hoping to get something more out of Remy's ship entries than slow descent into love, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he did have like, you saw him kind of hardening of like, okay, I need to be firm with these guys. Like, this is how I become a captain.
Learning to be a captain. Those parts were nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess, what's missing is like, basically there's a bunch of like, intrigue and some stakes with, the supernatural side of things, but we don't have any stakes with the actual human characters in their drama other than the romance. And so, it is kind of just like, okay, what other problems does Remy have? What problems, should Ludovica
have?
Yeah.
Because, like, literally the whole thing of her, like, leaving as a noble-born to go be on this ship. Do they ever get to mention, like, if I go back, my parents will disown me? Probably not. Her parents seem pretty chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the dad.
So, like, she
Where's
could
the
just
mom?
at any point turn around, right?
Yeah.
There's not even, like, the police are, like, after her or something. Or, like, as nobles, we have sent, like, the Royal Navy after you.
How would you feel if, like, we get some more of the comic and it turns out, like, Remy reunites with them and he's like, yeah, look, the reason why no one's after you is because I told my parents, like, I know where you are. Like.
I don't care if there's an in-world reason for why they're not being hunted. They need to face some potential consequences if they do not fulfill this task. Pretty much.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That's just kind of essential to a story, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, turn around. Be a coward.
I will say, though, to me, like, if they did that, I would not be happy with that.
I mean, yeah, but also,
but I feel like it would fit with this story. So
I don't know. It's such a whimsical story.
Right. Yeah.
I wonder if I'm trying to force too much on it.
Yeah, it is hard to say, with that, because it is like, especially now that I'm like, at least like the author, I guess, has, put it in the genre box of YA. I'm like, in some ways, like, I'm more forgiving, but in other ways, I'm like also disappointed still, like,
I mean, we literally get like body horror a tiny bit. Like, man, with like Ludovica's finger, I was talking about.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps I want too much carnage.
Wait, I thought you didn't like carnage.
That kind.
But
yes.
Oh, yeah.
I just sensed. I almost like led with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of pages for not a lot of payoff so far, in my personal opinion.
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
Like, what are the major plot points that have happened so far, other than like characters kind of vaguely threatening each other in conversations? Like, what are the actual actions they've taken?
Yeah, and that's
Just sort of sailing.
And that's very true in that, like, you know, like I read book 1 and that was 4 chapters. Like, you generally wouldn't say that 4 chapters is a book, you know? And so I guess, like...
You'd say, like, that's a volume?
Well, no, I'd even say, like, you know, like, okay, like, if we were maybe mapping this to traditional comic books, you know, then, like, if a chapter is an issue, then maybe like 6 issues might be more normal.
Oh, okay.
But even,
These are pretty long per chapter
right.
compared to an issue, though.
Yeah, but I mean, like, in terms of like how I imagine she's plotting these out, it does seem like basically a book is a natural stopping point, but it feels like almost in terms of story structure, like the book is more like the first chapter. It's like you said, it feels like we're still in the intro. Yeah.
I wanted to let you guys know I have a training in here at 2.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, great place to put a little clap in to delete that.
I don't know. I don't agree technically with like it's too short to be a book, because like it's 270 so pages, right? But I do agree with the way it's paced out. I don't know if it's a satisfying single book. Like, what is the arc? You know, I feel that every book should possibly have like a tiny mini arc that gets resolved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the end of it, oh, we finally earned everybody's trust on the ship by doing this amazing thing.
Right.
Even that
Yeah.
has not happened. What small ways have these characters proven themselves to be this way or that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nothing major so far.
Like, the only thing that I can think of is just Jameis's and Ludovica's, like, you know, I guess burgeoning friendship, basically. Like, I'm thinking about, like, the hair braiding scene.
Is there even anything major that led to that?
No,
they kind of already were fine, right?
Yeah. It was just...
I have to say, I cringed so hard when I saw that. I was like,
Why? What is cringy about that?
right. There's just something
They're
about
treating him like a child.
There's just something about taking a dude and like making him all girly. I'm like, oh, I do not.
I don't know. I think Jameis is pretty.
I mean,
he's like a guy who'd be fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's naturally like, you guys better stop, like, get rid of this before everybody sees me. But other than that, he's pretty fine with it.
Yeah.
He's worried about what other people think of him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're saying he would be the guy that's like, get this off me before anyone else?
No, he says that.
Well, he literally says that.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I think that. I mean, I think the only thing holding him back is literally other people's judgment,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
That's
I think
fair.
he's very sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Famous, good character.
I agree.
Do something. Do something, Jameis.
Yeah.
For yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's actually a good point. Does he do anything for himself? I don't know.
I mean, have we experienced the entire Jameis character arc, going from unruly dude to ship's
First mate.
First mate? Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit, but I feel like, it has more to go.
There's more potential, obviously.
I guess Sorry.
So much of the story happens in these like back flashes.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. It doesn't feel like it's the arc because it's like, oh, this is something that happened previous. Like because we're supposed to accept Ludovica as the main character, the arcs are supposed to be at least somewhat relation into her.
Mm-hmm.
And if they had, see, I cannot forgive those journal entries. It's basically exposition for chapters.
Pretty much.
But
yeah.
I would have been fine with it if like some of the things that like Remy was going through at the same time we cut to like, okay, we get a section where Ludovica is doing something on the ship and it kind of parallels the like trials and tribulations that Remy has gone through. Or like similar feelings, different situation maybe. She's like going through, I don't know, some sort of parallel there, something else to connect it to the current time. But nah. Exposition dump.
Yeah.
Can't forgive it. Sorry.
I mean, that's
those journal entries.
Yeah. I mean, in one way, I'm like, that was some of the most entertaining parts, but at the same time, you're also
there's
right.
actual arcs and stakes that get resolved.
Yeah.
But yeah, literally, that makes like the rest of the story pale in comparison, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was expecting her to like read that part, I'm in love with Jameis, and then like for her to get to read some of it, and then it to get like water on it or something, and her be like, oh no.
Right. Yeah.
And then for her to meet her brother later, and for her to assume certain things, and her brother's like, you didn't read the rest of the book, did you? Because this is the real story. I don't know. But she's just gonna get it all.
Yeah.
She's just gonna learn everything about her brother from this book.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, yeah. It's general pacing and just, I don't know, stakes. That's what I'll summarize it as.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you read more?
Okay, we need to talk about the art first.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay.
Real quick.
All
yeah.
right.
I will say, I liked the art. I could tell that it was well worked on. It even felt like a little bit more like, I'm trying to remember the creator's name, Petra. She like it just felt like much more of an illustrator than a writer. Not that it was like so poor quality, at all, but just like it felt like that was, kind of first love of comics basically was the art.
That's fair.
You could definitely feel the like, preference towards art, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I think, they have a very particular style of faces. It feels a little anatomically off at times, but I think it's just their style. And by the third chapter, I think is when typically when I read books, I'm like, oh my God, wow, I love this art. I'll save this page or something. Like, I love this page. And when I first started this comic, I was like, I'm not going to be saving any of these pages. I love that. By the time we got to the third chapter, I was like, wow, some of these are really cool.
Yeah, actually.
And unfortunately, I think some of the backgrounds I like more than the characters. Some of the like objects and like still lifes I like more than the characters.
No, for sure. And I noticed at the third chapter, I was like, wow, this had like a serious improvement in quality. But like,
I'm pretty sure they used to do all of their work in pencil and they don't ink. I don't know if that's still true.
Yeah. That actually, slight tangent to what I was saying, but this reminded me in some way to the other webcomic. I think it's the only other webcomic we've read.
Lackadaisy?
Yeah, Lackadaisy. Because that one was also done in like high detail pencil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
And
actually, I think they do ink this. They gotta ink it.
Okay.
This one, at least.
Right.
But I do think some of the finer details are very gradiented pencil style.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it reminded me of that, and also I seem to remember with Lackadaisy the hook of the story didn't come until a little bit later, and so I was bored at the beginning with that one also. But then I was interested. But anyway, going back to what we were saying, yeah, after chapter 3, it got a lot better, and but yeah, in particular, it seemed like a lot of the backgrounds and stuff like that were the shining, or what became shiny, you know, basically. And I even remember at the end of one chapter, sometimes I just like scroll down a little bit too fast, and I saw that she was all like, there was a little description for the page, and she was like, I need you to look at this panel without the text on it because I worked so hard on it, basically. And so she reposted, the panel without text, and it was really good,
Yeah, the some of the faces are a little too same-facey. Or like the guy who's kind of crazy after seeing Mordor come to shore or whatever and like attack him. They looked really similar to drunken Jameis.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I just literally like.
Well, to be fair, do you remember what his name is?
No, I don't.
Crazy guy?
Yeah.
I don't think he even gets a name.
He gets a name.
Yeah, he does. I just don't remember it.
It's Jomis.
Really?
Yeah.
Jameis's lost twin brother.
Jomis.
My God. Yeah, it's even sometimes, man. We didn't say this explicitly. One of the things I didn't like, I mean, we talked about it, how the characters always have to be entertaining, always have to be their most extreme self. They cry so often. Stop crying. Characters should cry when there's like very poignant scenes. I mean, some characters will just constantly cry. Yeah, that's just who they are, maybe. But all the characters, constantly.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, at least.
No, I mean, I did actually kind of like the moment with where Honeyfoot, reveals himself and such. But, like, even though it did have that element of like higher drama to it, I did feel like a little bit more of like the emotion that Ludovica was feeling towards it, But other than that, yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of crying.
Kind of act like too many scenes are emotionally poignant, thus making every scene not emotionally poignant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, love the art. It's getting better. Sad to say that I find the characters' faces kind of the least appealing part most of the time because the backgrounds are so nice. The still lifes and the objects and the props are so nicely rendered.
Yeah, I wouldn't say personally that I had a lot of problem with the faces. But yeah, I guess I just kind of chalked that up, like you said, to the style, and I didn't care one way or the other, really.
Gotcha.
Sometimes they're just so simplistic. I just kind of felt myself missing more.
Gotcha.
Which is like, but that's because I feel like Ludovica is probably the standard style that the artist draws in, and then seeing some of the side characters who look different, where it feels like the artist actually has to like, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Did you have anything for the art, Dylan?
Yeah, I didn't notice the difference in quality between like the earlier and like the later chapters, but I do think that like this looks like a lot of work was put in, and I think that the art like to me kind of matches the style of the book. Like it's very, I mean, like YA, right? Like, so the style to me it makes sense for it to be a little more cartoony. What's the technical word for that? Like, rather than being strict, it's
It's more
generalized.
organic, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of know what like more abstraction. Yeah, that's probably the best word that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's not the how I was talking about it, but it's like I remember like it's a kind of style of drawing where it's like you can either be exact with it, like make it look more.
Are you
like
talking
a
about
person.
caricatures?
No,
Like, so you're talking first about like photorealism, which is like on one side of the spectrum.
not necessarily photorealism, but just like the way that you would draw a character, making it more specialized. Oh, the specialized I'm thinking of.
Special.
Okay, so simplistic and
I can't think of it.
non-specific. I know what you mean though.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically this is on the other end of less specific. But just in general, like the art is just not for me. Like I'm very much like I want it to be more real than cartoony. And so,
I mean, it goes along with the story, like you said, kind of how there's not super strong stakes. The faces are very suited for the goofiness that they go through.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's all we have for the art. So would you read more? No. Shwanta?
I don't know. The world building, the draw of that supernatural appeal might keep me there. I don't think so though.
Yeah.
I'll probably check it out again later once it's updated a bunch, but yeah, it's not really high on my list.
Gotcha.
Yeah. There's certain things that I'm like interested in, but for the most part I'm kind of like, it's one of those ones where it's like I think that I'd be entertained enough if, like, you know, we chose it again to read the next book and further into the series, but I wouldn't choose it for myself. So yeah, it was okay for what it was though, and it kept me.
See why it's popular.
Yeah, I do see why it's popular.
And that's
like
not,
we said, there's a lot of work that went into it, obviously, over the last 4 years. It's insane.
Gotcha.
Good for them.
And just to clarify my understanding, when you say you can see why it's popular, that is a compliment, yes?
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, it was both things where it's like, this is very obviously for a specific audience. I may not be that audience.
Okay.
But I can appreciate that it takes work to like get any sort of audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, I think one thing I forgot to say was that despite how I feel about the story, I do think it's definitely not one of those stories where webcomics that you stumble across, or even like professional comics sometimes, where you're like, you're making this up as you go.
No.
Like I can tell that they very clearly have places to be. Do I think that journey will be entertaining enough for me? Probably not. But that's just me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree that this is probably plotted out, you know, in advance.
They're a plotter, not... Wait, is that the other one?
Pantser.
Okay,
It's the other one.
I thought of it, but I was like, I don't
know what you guys are talking about.
Like, in writing, you can either plot or you can pants, which is just like... Or not pants, but...
Flying
you'd be
by the
referred-
seat of your
yeah,
pants.
Yeah. You'd be
Okay.
referred to as a pantser.
Huh, never heard that before.
Yep.
All right.
Booktube.
Anyway, I think that's all that we have for this. So thank you for listening to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Taylon.
And I'm Shawenta.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, or Podbean. You can support this podcast by sharing it with anyone you know and by rating and reviewing our podcast. You can also reach out to us with any thoughts you have on the things we talk about on Twitter at TheComicPanel1 and on Instagram and Facebook at The Comic Panel. We appreciate your feedback and look forward to sharing many more comic thoughts with you. Have a blessed day.